Hello there, Star Wars toy fans. This is Jim, and thank you for taking the time to stop by my YouTube channel. Well, we're at my workbench right here, and this video is really sort of two-part. It's really focusing, number one, on the Brazilian Glasslite X-Wing, as well as showing you a fix that you may want to try to make if you're trying to restore your vintage X-Wings that have the electronics and they are not working. So, to start off, there's some neat things about this Brazilian X-Wing that makes it quite unique. So, and before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about the history. So, Glasslite started off in the late 1960s as a Japanese toy company based out of Brazil. And they were in and out of financial struggles all throughout the 70s and 1980s. And they're most famous for producing lines of television characters that no other company did, like, say, MacGyver or even Knight Rider. And I don't think so they're highly sought after. In 1988, they produced a line of Star Wars toys. They got the Kenner rights, and Kenner by that point was out of Star Wars. Power of the Force went out in 1985, along with the Droids line, and then the Ewoks in 86. So by 88, it was pretty, Glasslite was it. And so their figures are highly sought after, especially the Vlix figure from the Droids line. I think it is like #1 on the list of all action figures. That's the most expensive and rare. They produced 3 ships that year, the TIE Fighter and the TIE Interceptor, which have this neat black metallic finish, and then the X-Wing. And since I have quite a few X-Wings, I wanted this in order to complete my collection. I don't have either of the other 2 ships. So looking at it, first thing you're going to notice is it's a different gray color. And I took this apart already, starting another video, and then realized that you couldn't see some of what I was doing. And so I have started over. So the ship is already partially disassembled. So it's a little gray, different color gray than the battle-damaged X-Wing that Kenner produced. This has a lot of yellowing on it, which is very common with plastic of this age, and I have chosen not to retrobite it because the stickers are in real nice shape. If you don't know about retrobiting, that whitens it. But looking at the stickers, you'll see it says ASA-X there, and it's got wing stickers on top, but no wing stickers on the bottom. That was pretty common. Here you can see the light, or the wings are this side yellowed and that side did not. The other thing that makes this ship really unique is that it has slotted screws. So as opposed to the Phillips screws, which are found in both the Palitoy and the Kenner ships. It does have electronics. However, the electronics, there is no light at the front. In fact, it's just this little piece of plastic, what they call a dummy light, and then the nose slips over that. It's simple as that. So this ship is complete, in case you were wondering. And so when I got it, the wings did not work, and they did not pop up and down, and that's because this piece inside, and I'll show you how that's fit together, was broken. I'm not going to take it apart today because I've made a necessary repair. It was broken right along that shaft and then in 2. So I've reinforced both of this with styrene plastic. But the fix that I wanted to talk about today were the contacts. And the contacts that go into this piece here. So if you decide to fix your ship, either the wings aren't breaking or aren't working because they're broken, or perhaps R2 is broken, or what else? Maybe the electronics aren't working, then you're going to have to take it apart. And there are basically 4 to 5 screws depending on where it's made. There's the nose screw, nose cone, which is right here. The British version, and this one had a screw there. The ones here made in the United States do not. There is a screw up here, which I'm going to unscrew. And happen to have my magnet here to grab that. And then the back compartment, or that's an engine or whatnot, has 2 screws. That screw, and so we'll pull that off. Now this exposes the entire wing area. There's a button here. What makes the Glasslite ship a little bit unique as well is it has a green button instead of a blue button for the ones made in the United States and a white button for the UK. It also has this real cool thumb rest feature, so we'll just put this on for the battery compartment. So it has a little thumb tab, which the ones in either the UK or the United States did not have. Really, I wish Kenner had done that. Oftentimes what happens is the R2 will be broken. And so it's a very simple process. You just have to reverse R2. Here's one that I painted silver, and you can see this piece is broken. In fact, this might have been, no, this wasn't the one on this ship. It was from another one. But this is not the one that went on this ship, because this was, well, actually it is. It was the shaft and the inside, the dowel that was broken. Like this. This one was off of 2004. You can tell from the dark blue plastic. And I just had to create a one out of plastic. That one was just disintegrated on itself. So to get into the wing area, we're going to pull out these 4 screws. I've taken this apart a number of times because the battery compartment was not quite it wasn't doing what it should do. It was not making a sound. So obviously we don't have a light with this, but what we do have is a motor, and the motor is quite unique. It has quite a noisy sound to it. Maybe it's because of this reed, that this shaft that has grooves in it rides against. But 9 times out of 10, I would say if your electronics do not work, it's not the motor's fault. It's somewhere in the contacts. And so you have to clean this out, this area. And this area was really rusted. The batteries in there were still there. And it was quite a mess. In fact, I had to do quite a lot of sanding to get rid of all of the rust that was in there. Get a little close up there. I also had to build up the solder because it wasn't making contact with the battery and got a little too close right there with the soldering iron. You have to be really careful. Not bad, but my soldering iron was, it's pretty wide. It's about the width of the battery. And so anyway, so we'll do show you a little test run here of this. And we'll just bring this across the top. So quite noisy, but now it works. You can also lubricate your motor. You can just get some 3-in-1 oil here and just put a little bit of oil there on the armature and around the front, and they'll get it running again. Now, in the event that your R2 is broken, and we'll just do this little quick tutorial here before I put the wings back on to show you everything else. I'm not going to pull this completely apart, primarily because it's I don't want to. These have to compress in, okay, in order to get the wings out. And I got them in the first time, and like I mentioned earlier, it was broken there. I reinforced it with plastic and glue. It works. I'm going to leave it at that. But if you need to get into that, what you're going to do is you're going to spring R2, pull this rod out, and then gently move these tabs to where you get one wing out, then the next wing out, and then the upper wings. And then you'll be able to pull R2 out. R2 just has one screw. That's at the bottom of that shaft right there. And, or maybe you want to call it top. And then you can rotate R2 around if this tab is broken. Or if the shaft is broken, you can try re-gluing it. That's what the case with this one was. And so far, everything works great. So we'll go ahead and screw this back down, and I'll show you about the contact fix. Now, one of the things that I've learned from doing mechanics is on cars is you want to make sure that you tighten your screws up evenly. The ones in the UK sometimes just had 2 screws. And in fact, my 1978 X-Wing just had 2 screws. So I'm tightening them up diagonally first, and then I'm going to do the diagonals and then cinch them all down. Okay, that one's a bit snug. So I guess that's good. Don't over tighten. You don't want to strip or crack that plastic. Okay, then the next thing you want to do is when you're putting on your top is you want to make sure you get this little guy in. Make sure you have the spring there. Don't lose that. It'll fly across the room on you if you're not careful. Slip that in. Now we're going to slip our top part of our fuselage on. Drop the long screw down in there. Okay. And there we go. All right. So now let's talk about the battery compartment, how you create a contact for that. So this was completely rusted off. Here's the contact that I made. And what you've got is you've got your little push button. Notice that's green, like the like the button there. The American versions are blue. Palitoy are white. And then it's got a little spring. And that spring pushes. I guess Palitoy ones don't even have one, do they? Now that I think about it. The spring has a little recess in there that it butts up against. And so then that presses down the contacts on your batteries. So in one of them that I had from 1978, I don't think I showed this one already. This was totally rusted through. And so what I should have done is just drilled out that rivet, and then done what I did with the Glasslite, is drilled a hole in that. But instead I decided to solder these tabs, and it does work, but not as effectively as I'd like it to. This one really works, and it works quite well. So here's what you do. There's a tutorial on this. So go to Hobby Lobby or your hobby store. You can even go to a hardware store, buy some copper sheet. This, I believe, is a 1/16 inch thick. You want it thick enough that it's not going to just flex on you. And then what you're going to do is you're going to measure the contact. And the contact measures, it's about 3/4 of an inch by a 1/2 inch. Just take your Sharpie. If you haven't done this kind of thing before, you're going to mark it off in 2 different areas. So you're going to mark off your 3/4 there. And then you're going to mark it off in another spot, making sure that's uniform. And then you're going to mark off your 1/2 inch, or 1/4 inch, sorry. So it's 1/4 inch. I'm going to mark in 2 different places and then draw my line. You're also going to want to draw your center hole. I just eyeballed this. Need a center punch. That way your drill goes in properly. Hammer that nice and hard. And then, to get that done, use your 10 snips and snip it out. Okay, and then it's just a matter of drilling it. Now, I happen to have a drill press, but if you don't, then you may want to use a hand drill, and then drill it to the correct size of your screw. I happen to have some extra screws on hand that I use with my slot cars, so it's very, very small. I don't even know what the diameter of that is. So basically, this plate here is a 1/2 inch. And then you have 1/4 inch. The 1/4 inch allows for the bend, because the bend's going to take up a little bit of space. Then what you're going to do is you're going to take your spring, put it in there, and you're going to want to also tap that, drill that out, so that way it's going to take the right size of screw that you have. And then, this is where the tricky part begins. Drop the screw in. right, nothing works out for me properly. So now we're going to just screw that down. And now we have our push button that works properly. Now what I may end up doing is swinging this thing around. There we go. And now what you're going to do, it's got two little pins right there. And voila. Okay. To drop in our batteries. Oops, wrong way. There we go. And okay, so our button is not making contact. Okay, so we're going to reverse back again. All right. Perfect. Now what you're going to do is you're going to screw in the screws here. That'll cinch everything back down. And then you put your nose cone on. And everything's back together again. Well, I hope you found this tutorial useful and learned a little bit about the Glasslite X-Wing, as well as how to make contacts, replacement contacts for your battery compartment.